Hey, this is Sean over at Standard Computer, making a little video here to try to explain the differences between the analog phone systems, ooh, look at that terrible handwriting, and the VoIP phone system. There's a ton of videos like this on the internet, but I wanted something that was really simple and more technical to explain to some older business owners that don't really understand technology what the difference is. So, let me start with the analog phone system because that is the advanced thing that they would have encountered like in the 80s. All right, so I'll just explain with pictures. If you go to Google Images and you type in phone closet, you'll see these type of pictures right here where we have these little mushroom caps that are screwed into the wall. You got these big, thick Amphenol cables that then break out into these little tiny wires. Let's see. See how these like cables have tons of little wires in there? Now I'm colorblind. I struggle doing network cables, and network cables have 4 pairs. These things have like 66 pairs or 25 pairs. And the way they're organized is on these blocks right here. And these blocks are called 66 blocks. Now I'll try to find a picture of what this looks like when the wires are in it. Maybe we can zoom in right here. We see how it's like the mushroom cap holds the wire and it splits the 25 pair up, and then it goes out into those little things. And the way it connects, see if we can find a picture of it connecting, is the wire has a insulator on it covering it, but there's like little teeth, and the wire drops down into these teeth and it slices into the wire and makes contact with the copper on the inside. So you can kind of zoom in here. So if you push the wire down right here, it would energize that. And then this entire column, okay, let's look at it as rows, not columns, sorry. If you press a wire down here, and there's a little tool to help you do that, then that wire is conductive to that. So these two things are now like physically touching together. Like if you had a light bulb, there would be conductivity there. And on the other side, you do the same thing, and you have these little clips. They're called bridge clips, and you push those little clips in these center ones to connect them together. So this entire thing, you could do it just by taking 2 wires and twisting them together, but by pushing it down onto these 66 blocks, you have an organizational system. It's important in an analog system to have this type of organizational system. Why? Because this picture right here, that is how you program. The programming the programming is in the wire. So let's say you have a phone and it's Bob's phone, and you want to move Bob's phone from his office, Suite 101, to a different room. Let's say we're going to go to Suite 107. Well, you can't just move the phone into the jack in there. You have to come into this closet, pull the wire out, and plug it into another thing. And then the phone will adopt the identity of the wire. So the phone has no programming in it. All of the programming is in the thing. So the phone, all the phones are the same. They're just like mindless little slaves. And then the wires, the confusing spaghetti wires, have the programming. And then there's a PBX somewhere, another box. I don't think it's in the picture, but let's see. Yeah, like this one looks like a PBX right up in there. So there's a PBX, which is the inside phone system. Like this is the thing that lets you have extensions, it lets you have voicemails, it does all of the features are at the PBX. And then the phone company provides a set of analog lines. So let's say that you buy 4 analog lines. Each of the analog lines will have its own phone number. You may choose to hide the phone number when you dial out, so that they all pretend to be your main advertised number. And you can also configure the lines so that if line 1 is busy, it rolls over to line 2. If 2 is busy, it rolls over to 3, and so forth. And you can have, depending on how deep your pockets are, you can have as many analog lines as you want going into your PBX system, and you can have as many, whatever these things are called, internal lines as you want. But just remember, this is all done physically. Like this is like, if you remember the pictures of like the old telephone operators where they're plugging in cords, and she's like, operator, how can I help you? And she's like moving things around. Like this is the advanced version of that. Okay, there's literally a copper wire, and this phone system is just making a path inside of itself all the way through that spaghetti into the phone to good. Right, to get to that phone. Okay, so that is how that is how analog systems work. Big line. How do VoIP phone systems work? There's so many things here that don't translate across. So I'm going to start from the top. I told you that there's a PBX. Well, there's still a PBX, but the PBX isn't physically in your office. It's like in the cloud somewhere. This thing exists and it's providing, let's just say it's servicing um, I want to say like a million customers, but let's just say that they create a virtual PBX for every customer. So you have your own PBX, and it will be in a browser. So you will manage it in Chrome. Over here, you manage this thing using either some weird special software that you have to install. There's some kind of installer package where you maybe have like a gate kept a dealer and you have to contact that dealer and only that dealer can program it. Like it's super hard to program a PBX. It's you just pull up in a browser and you can program your PBX on your VoIP provider. Depending on what VoIP provider you get, like you can get a VoIP provider that has a call center and you can talk to the call center and you can, in layman's terms, you can say, hey, I want to change a feature and that feature they will just change it for you. They can't do that in the PBX system. They have to roll a truck. Guy has to come out and program it. Okay, so the PBX is in Chrome over here. The wires that come in, these are no longer analog wires. Over here, these analog phone lines on your phone bill, they would show up as individual lines, analog phone lines. If you switch from a PBX to a VoIP, you might keep one line just for your fax machine because for whatever reason, faxes just don't die and people like having an analog fax machine. So you may keep one analog line, which is again, a physical wire. You'll probably simplify all this spaghetti and just cut all that out and just have one wire going to wherever the fax machine lives. Okay, so you get rid of all these analog lines. What do you replace it with? Well, you replace it with an internet connection. So you have an internet connection that goes into your office. Now, see, I need to move this PBX. It's not physically in your office. So I'm just gonna say you have internet, you have Chrome, it's there. So now all you're concerned about is if you have internet. I'm trying to draw a big fat wire going to, say, a network switch. All right, so let's try to look at a computer network closet. This one looks pretty clean. That one does not. We'll pick this one. This is going to be my model for a computer. So what we see here is you see a network switch, which is a splitter. All it does is internet comes in. Now everything connected gets internet. There's no difference between port 7 and port 12 or whatever. And then this in between the network switches, there's some kind of organizational thing. I thought that was a patch panel, but it's not. It looks like it's just there to hold all the. So I'll just commentary. I don't like this style where they have like 6 foot long cables and they come across. I don't think it's a good demo for what we would do in a small business. Maybe we can find something smaller. This is probably more like it. A home network? Come on, bro. Google. I just want to see the picture. This is hard. I'm struggling. All right, I'm gonna copy this image in the paint and see what happens. Does it blow? Yeah. Okay, well, it's all grainy, but we can see enough. So what you have here in the bottom, that might be fiber optic, but essentially it's a patch panel. See, that's just a piece of plastic with holes in it. And the network cables that come into the office, and those are the ones I can see. I'm colorblind, but I can see them. They have 4 pairs of wires, not 25 pair. And you put the female keystone on the wire and you click it into these holes. Now you've got a cable. That's how you organize the cables. And then you have these short little pigtails. These little 6-inch cables are about 1 foot cables. You have those short cables that go between your wires and whatever you're trying to plug them into. So usually the switch, but occasionally you might have like two things patched into each other or whatever. So this is a much cleaner way to organize a closet, and you don't have to have two different standards. So you can take all of those analog phone wires and you can cut them off the 66 block. And as long as they're 4 pair, you can turn them into data wires. And so you can use the existing cabling, but instead of the wire, like instead of it carrying voltage, like it's got voltage on 2 wires to make there's 2 wires to make a phone line, ring and tap. And when the phone rings, it puts out like 48 volts, and it's like, this is how it's ringing. Okay, so it's all these like actual voltages, and when like the speaker is making noises, it's really just changing the voltage on the wire. Like that's how it's doing it. In the VoIP phone system, it's not physically changing the voltage to induce a magnet to bounce back and forth to make a speaker go. Instead, it's sending computer information, data information, packets of data to the little tiny computer, because the little computers here, these phones are dumb. The computer phones, the VoIP phones, they're smart. They have like literal operating systems in them. There are phones that you can get like the Google Play Store, and you can change the background on the phone and all kinds of cool stuff like that. Those phones, when they ring, they're just told to start ringing, and their speaker turns on. So like it's a different way of communicating to the phone. It's also occasionally harder to troubleshoot because these phones um, can get silly. Like you can get, they're so wonderful and easy to play with. You can have scenarios where like over here, like your options are limited, right? They're preset by the vendor, and it's like Apple or something. It just works. Over here, you can be like, well, I need to leave the office for a little bit. I'm going to send all my calls to my cell phone. And then you start getting calls to your cell phone, and then, it's after 5 or something, and you don't want those calls. And so then the person um, blocks the phone number that's calling them. And then the next day they come back to work and they're like, hey, why isn't my phone ringing? And they can't figure out why it's not working. Well, it's because they sent all the calls to their cell phone, and then they blocked the number from their cell phone. So it's like not working. This this type of thing is why you have to have somebody managing your VoIP system. Um, if you buy from like Mango or Ring or Ring Central, one of these kind of bigger companies, you get support directly from them. If you buy a smaller phone system like a 3CX or I think I said Ring Logix is on the smaller side. Then what you typically do is like you're getting support from a local guy who's then paying for like higher level support from them. Anyway, look how like confusing this is, but like I hope that this video sort of explained the difference between these old analog systems and the VoIP phone systems. One other comment, this is difficult to remove. If you want to go from, I don't know, like a Toshiba phone system to an NEC phone system, like you're going to have to rewire everything. It's just a freaking mess. This is a breeze to change. Like there's no reason other than laziness that you should even have to buy new phones. Like if you want to go from, I don't know, let's just say you want to go from Mango to Ring Central, or you want to go from Ring Logix to Ring Central, or Ring Central to 3CX, you're going to have the same phone. You're probably going to have, I can't pick it up, can't word on word. You're probably going to have like a Yealink here, just like Yealink VoIP phone. This is just like a common phone. See, these phones, you buy the phones in the same way you would buy like a Dell computer, and then you would install whatever program you want, because this is just a program. This just goes on the phone, and all these little buttons and everything are programmable. You program the phone the same way you program the PBX. You program it in Chrome as well. Now, really cool phone systems, the phone system is able to talk to the phone and basically program it from this one spot. But um, I don't know, sometimes it doesn't work. Okay, let me back up and requalify a statement. I said because of laziness, this is the laziness I'm talking about. If you have 100 phones, it's not laziness. Like there's just no way that you're going to be able to go around and program 100 phones to work the way it's supposed to. But if you have 5 phones, um, why would you need to use this central management console that perhaps only works when you buy phones that work with it? Why not just touch the 5 little phones and, put the new settings in them? Like it doesn't take any time at all. So that's what I mean by laziness. You buy new phones, they work with this central management tool. These other phones aren't necessarily guaranteed to, but the Yealink phone, it works with everything. So I like using Yealink. Yealink T54W, that's the one. T54W. Oh, yes, sir. Yeah, sure. See, by the way, that's a cloud outage, which is another phenomenon. You don't get that with this phone system, assuming that like you have power at all. This is gonna work because um, the phones get their power from the actual wire. Remember, I was telling you like the voltage of the wire. Only the voltage of the wire makes the phone work. Well, that means this phone system will work without power, as long as this one thing here is working. Um, Over here, like, if you lose power or you lose internet, you're done. Like you don't have anything. Your cell phone would work if you have the mobile app. So keep that in mind. Okay, well, I just talked for 20 minutes about VoIP phones. I hope it helped.